Okay, I'm going to answer some of the questions that might have cropped up from our last class, and mostly to address some of the blurriness in these pictures, because it's true, these are really old pictures, and some of the edges are very hard to see. So I want you to just try to draw the outlines of some of the shapes as specifically as you can. So here's another blurry one, the Harriet Tubman. Very blurry, okay? So let's pretend, whoops, let me get some chalk on this. Let's pretend I've got Ms. Grumpke on my page, okay? All right, I'm going to zoom in and show you what I would do in this situation. She's very, very blurry. I'm going to just simplify some of the shapes. I'm just going to draw the side of her face best as I can, her chin, some of the shapes that I see. Oh, you can't see, I just went too low. Some of the shapes I can see. Here's a shape right over here. Here is a shape right under here. Okay, here is a shape over here. It does not have to be exact, but it does have to be in the right place. So here's a big light shape I'm outlining all the way down to the bottom. Here is the shape of her eye. There might not be an eyelid that you can see. Draw the shape of the eye, and I can see there's a shape of shadow, and it's even a little bit darker on the inside of the eye. I'll show you a little bit closer. It's a little bit lighter on the outside, and then there's a dark shape on the inside, so I'm outlining it. There's also even a light shape of shadow on the eyelid. You can outline a light shape of shadow on the forehead. You could outline. So if you don't see edges, draw the shapes of the shadows. Make an outline around them. And you see what I'm doing. You have to look very carefully and try to just identify those shapes. Okay? Okay, once you've done that, let me make this smaller. Then, I didn't make my fold yet, so I'm going to have to improvise right now. Then you can fold it over and rub, 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 and you will get the likeness. Because the likeness doesn't come from the outlines of somebody's eyes. When you see somebody, ooh, doesn't that look like a face? Cool. When you see somebody walking down the street, you don't see their eyeballs. You don't see their eyelashes. You don't see all the little details. You see big shapes, big shadows, big relationships. So for those of you who are worried about the fact that you do not see the lines very well, don't worry, you will still be able to do your picture, okay? Got it? I hope so. In fact, it might make yours even a little bit more interesting. Okay, so once you have your picture outlined for the most part, okay? And I say for the most part because there's going to be a lot of things you're going to change, right? You might want to end up adding the shape of the plaid on the dress. you know, all those fun little things. There's always room for adding on. No problem. See, I just added on that little area of darkness in the dress. Once you've got your general picture ready, there are one of two ways that you can proceed with shading. All right, so we learned a little bit about shading with our charcoal pencil. And we learned about creating different values, going from light to dark. I might have even mentioned something about squinting, that artists squint to try to compare values to each other and try to identify where they need to make things darker and where they need to hold off on the tone and keep it kind of light. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to squint at your picture and assess. You're going to assess where the darkest parts of your picture are. And I can see that the nostril is very dark. I'm going to outline that shape just like I did in the picture of Miss Grimke, because there's no outlines on the nostril, it's just a shape. I see a dark shape inside of her eye. I see a dark shape around the shadow above her eye. Okay. And this is pretty dark too, but it's not as dark as those darkest areas. This is pretty dark in here on her neck. So I am going to draw a line around that. And those are going to be our darkest areas. And this whole shape of hair. Oh gosh. I need to zoom in and maybe lift this up a little bit so you can see better. This shape of her hair, I'm going to draw around it. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's even an area that has a little light popping out, so I'm going to draw the light shape around that light popping out and a little bit of light popping out here. I'm getting very complicated. You don't have to go that detailed. Once you've gotten the shapes of your shadows, what do you think we're going to do? We're going to fold them over so we can mimic those shapes on the other side. Do you see? Okay. So you've got one of two things you can do. You can color that tone in dark, or you can go on your photograph side and shade in that area the darkest tone you can. The darkest. So if we were talking about the value scale, this would be the darkest value. Oh, my charcoal pencil is running out of steam. Okay. I'm going to switch to a different charcoal pencil. Sometimes you have to just turn it in another direction. All right. And then rub, rub, rub. And when you do that, the tone, the shape of the tone will transfer over. You see how it's getting dark? Yeah, but it's not really working that well. Maybe it doesn't work that well over printing ink. Maybe that's why some of you were having problems with your tracing. That's an interesting thing. Okay, well, I'm just going to use the charcoal pencil and color it in the darkest tone I can make it. And here's those little light parts popping out. I'm going to leave those lighter. And I'm going to make this nice and dark, this shape around her face. You're going to have to go slowly, and you're really going to have to think. Next, you're going to look at the next darkest darks. What's a little bit lighter than those darks? Well, this up here is a little bit lighter. This under her chin is a little bit lighter, this shape over here, right here. This shape inside of her eye is a little bit lighter. And again, you can squint your eyes to find the shape. And now you've got the next lightest tones. So you can fill in with a slightly lighter tone of value. Squint your eyes. Is the value on the left the same or close to the value on the right? If it is, you're in good shape. That should be darker. And this is too light, right? So this is going to be darker. All right, so now they're starting to match. This is going to be lighter than the dark part, but not by a lot. Like that. And this one too. Now, one way you can prevent the smudging of your artwork is to put a piece of paper underneath your hand as you work, so you're not pushing the charcoal around. And if you see charcoal bunching up like that, you just shake it, blow on it, and if it's still too dark, just take your kneaded eraser and get rid of it.